Good afternoon, everybody. This is my personal introductory video for AEP 858. My name is Michelle Colvin. Um, I have been in education 30 years, so I'm probably a little older than most of the students in the class. Here's a little bit of my education background. I do have a bachelor's degree in elementary ed, a master's degree in special education, an EDS in school psychology, a PhD in school psychology, and I have completed the coursework and have building leader licensure and district leader licensure. As I said, I've been in education 30 years. I've worked both in suburban schools as a special education teacher, in urban schools as a school psychologist and special education administrator. And my job in semi-retirement, I have elected to go back to school psychology, working directly with kids, and I'm in a rural school district, so someplace that I've never worked before. I've been there since August, so I do have somewhat limited understanding of all of the workings of the district. I am the only school psychologist pre-K to age 21 in the district, but by virtue of my job, I do spend most of my time pre-K to grade 8. I spend very little time at the high school because early intervention is really my focus. My personal background, I am married without children. We have two Bishans, Sasha and Mila. They are 8 and 9 years old. We love them and they are treated like one of the family. We love to travel and generally take a couple of long trips, car trips a year, and they go with us. My husband and I play golf with several of our friends, and we love to watch a lot of sports. Royals, Chiefs, and the Jayhawks. And this town is rocking as the Chiefs are getting ready to go to the Super Bowl next weekend. And they have not played or won in the Super Bowl since I was 5 years old. So there are people in this community who have waited their entire lives for this. We do spend time with friends, going to theater and doing all the above things, traveling, playing golf, and watching sports. My professional goals have always been to improve the learning outcomes of students. So in my role as school psychologist, I am now back to assessing children's learning strengths and deficits and devising appropriate interventions. And that's both academic and social emotional. And the best part about my job is consulting with staff, that includes teachers and parents, regarding interventions to meet students' learning needs. So I think it is incumbent to use data to be making all of these recommendations for interventions. Why did I want to become an educational professional? I guess as defined as getting out of the classroom. I think part of it was to impact more children by coaching adults and to focus more on system issues rather than just classroom issues. So it has been a very rewarding career, and I'm just not done yet. My goals, obviously, this is a continuation of my path to lifelong learning. Education is a very dynamic field. It's been a long time since I've worked directly with students. So I feel like this class will be very helpful to me in terms of using data analysis, current data, and coming up with refining my tools so that the children who are working with the adults in our school district are receiving evidence-based practices in order to meet their changing learning needs. And once again, like I said, both academic as well as social emotional. I think it is very important to make data-informed decisions. What I see just in my time, well, really across all 30 years in education, especially in the last 10, 12 years, we are very rich in data. but how we use that data is sometimes lacking. So in the current school district I'm at, we use FastBridge, which is a reading screening. We use 95% group as part of our Title I services. We use Fountas and Pinnell. Of course, we use the state assessment data, and probably the most powerful are those classroom assessments, exit slips. But how that data gets used is always dependent on the teacher, as well as any coaches or principals. And it's dependent on their years in the profession, their years at the grade level, their knowledge of the standards, their knowledge of interventions. So it is, as you know, teaching is a very complex job. At the school level, what I see as some of the things that we need to work on, and the superintendent, this is his first year there, he is working to address some of these identified needs. And that is currently there's very limited building professional development time and PLC time and instructional coaching. But next year, the district is going to have a 1 hour late start every Monday to engage in this PLC work. So I do think the district is ripe for change. They are also one of the districts participating in school redesign. So there is a whole new focus on data that hasn't been there previously. For me, at the individual level as a school psychologist, I do feel like the data I gather is not utilized to its fullest extent. And I have to take responsibility for that, because maybe I don't convey how the intervention is aligned to the data that I've gathered or the data the teacher has. Maybe I haven't made the data as relevant to the teacher and the teacher's classroom as it needs to be, so that he or she can really apply it. And then I know I lack follow through. I don't get in and observe for fidelity of implementation. I assume that when I make a recommendation for an intervention, the teacher sees it just like I do. And part of that is just the constraints of time. So importance is following up with the teacher to make sure that they need what additional support they need. And I need to be part of that solution. So in my plan to enhance skills here for the second semester, I do want to become more knowledgeable about all the data that's available in the district. And I want to make time at work to analyze that data by class. And I'm going to focus on the kindergarten to grade 3 building. And I'm going to identify those students who are not receiving special education or Title I services, who are not performing in the average range for their grade level. Because the district is rich on local norms, and so I want to use that data. And I want to meet with teachers to discuss interventions for those students whose scores are outside the average range. And I think it's important that I work in conjunction with the Title I teacher. She is, well, actually there's a Title I coordinator at that building, and I believe she has some very powerful interventions, and she has been charged with that task to include summer school for this summer. So I definitely want to engage with her. My plan is to develop those individual interventions and observe for fidelity of implementation, and then follow up with the teacher regarding additional support. And then I want to plan for the teacher to generalize those interventions to use with other students who might be demonstrating similar skill deficits, because I'm going to be forced to use the data we have from December. And we know that sometimes kids don't continue to progress. So I want my interventions to affect more than just the students that I particularly target, because the power is in the teacher seeing the interventions and how they can be used with other students. So I want to thank you for listening, and I look forward to learning with all of you this semester. Thank you.